does the modern-day United States have such an outdated rail system? In Europe and Asia, bullet trains are the norm. Why not in America, one of the wealthiest nations in the world? Is a high-speed train system for our country necessary or just another expense? In today's video I show you what the future of transportation in the US could look like and why we may never build a bullet train in this country. If you ever traveled on an Amtrak train across the country in the US and had a chance to take a trip to Europe and experience for yourself the comfort and speed of train travel over there, you know there is a huge difference. The US railroad system seems to be years behind. Why exactly is that? And should we even worry about it? One of the biggest reasons is the car culture in America and the obsession with the automobile. Americans love their cars, and can you really blame them? It's a symbol for independence and freedom. I'm sure most people would prefer to drive to work in their own vehicle versus waiting in the cold for some overcrowded, smelly subway or train ride. And now that we finally have self-driving cars, there's nothing stopping you from cutting your onions and prepare dinner on your way home. What we're still missing though is the ability to communicate to other cars and systems like traffic lights, for example. We have intelligent cars that have onboard safety systems like traffic sign assistance, lane departure warning, and advanced driving assistance systems, but no car-to-car communication yet. Now, why do we want car-to-car communication? Just imagine you're coming to an intersection and your car already knows which way all the other cars will be turning. But not only that, you know when you wait at the traffic light and it finally turns green and everybody slowly takes off, and by the time it's your turn it's red again? Just a few weeks ago I've actually fallen asleep at the red light. In the future, the traffic light will communicate to every car and they will all take off at the same time like a train. And speaking of train, with the ability to communicate to the car in front and behind of us, we will be able to have very minimum distance between the cars, and the cars will be just like a train, connected but without the mechanical coupling. As long as we know the distance to the car in front of us and receive information how fast it is traveling, reaction times and therefore distance between cars can be significantly reduced. Of course, these kind of systems need to be safe. They need some sort of redundancy. If we look at the example steer by wire, the physical connection is no longer necessary to steer the car, but it is a legal requirement to have a redundant system. Train-like systems without mechanical coupling are used in modern conveyance technology. For example, EMS systems, which stands for Electric Monorail System. Car-to-car communication will make it possible for you to drive up to the ramp. The car will automatically communicate to the other cars. The cars in front will slightly accelerate while the cars in the back slightly decelerate and open up a gap for you to enter the train. This will lay the foundation for higher and higher traveling speeds. Cities like Atlanta, for example, could have a fast lane instead of the current express lane. This system would hardly ever come to a stop. A system that knows, for example, that exit 55 is totally blocked and recommends you to take exit 56 instead. A system like this will save far more energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions more than any bullet train ever will, and therefore the impact will be much greater. But this, of course, requires standardization. So hopefully there are plans and people in place to work on communication standards as well as infrastructure development standards. One important point to accomplish high-speed traveling is to conduct risk assessments and FMEAs. An FMEA is a failure method effects analysis where, for example, failures like a faulty brake system or an intelligent sensor that doesn't work are analyzed and evaluated how it can be detected and prevented. Typically, an FMEA is conducted with a cross-functional team with different backgrounds and knowledge. In this case, they would look at every safety component and safety sensor of the car and evaluate it with occurrence, how often does it happen, severity, what happens if the brakes don't work, what's the worst case scenario, and then how can you prevent it and detect it. But not all questions/failure modes need to be technical. Mary from HR might ask what happens if the mattress falls off the car. Or what if a little boy without pants falls out the back? Or if a deer runs across the interstate? All these scenarios are being noted and evaluated, and then if the resulting RPM, risk priority number, is too high, measures need to be taken to reduce the risk. For example, this is why you see fences along the German Autobahn and wildlife bridges, because the risk of a deer crossing the Autobahn with 160 miles per hour is just way too high. Risk assessments and FMEAs will address all of these risk factors so that we can increase our speed limits once we have car-to-car communication. As for the little boy falling out the trunk, he probably just gets a sticker like this one that says, "Don't use a plastic tote to store your children." If we want high-speed travel, we also can't have tires all over the highway. In Europe, they do tire checks. If it's not according to the minimum requirements, you get a hefty fine and you will not drive another mile until you have a new set of tires on. Personally, I think they overdo it a little bit with the regulations in Europe. When I was a child, I loved watching the A-Team. And once I had my first car, I was gonna build a spoiler just like the A-Team van. But my dad said, "You know you can mount that on your car, right?" Why the hell not? Because it's against the law, that's why. I can't put a fake wooden spoiler on my car? Well, those rules are just stupid. My neighborhood just got a new traffic light, but I was a little surprised that it still takes days of tweaking and adjusting, and after all that you still stand at the traffic light with no cars in sight. You can see cameras installed on almost every intersection already. In the future, AI will learn traffic patterns over several days and weeks and optimize the light patterns for the best traffic flow and even adjust in real time. Traffic lights use Failsafe controllers to ensure that you have never a traffic light showing solid green in all four directions. In the future, we will also have an interface or portal between the SAFE program and the artificial intelligence. The AI will only optimize parameters like timer values and such. This way you can never have an unsafe situation even if the AI goes crazy. The controller will fall back to a default setup that might not be optimized but safe. Somebody left me a comment, I'm sure he meant well. You have to work on your English if you ever want to make it in America. Let me remind you what an Austrian sounds like that doesn't work on its English.
The first time I came to the United States of America, to the state of California, this is what I sounded like. It was about 4 times as bad back then. Takke tata, hier, there's a bomb in there.
And for all the comments complaining about my generator not being finished, I just want to tell you, It's a little time consuming to work on this generator. I have a full-time job, but I guarantee you I'm working on it and I will come out with a new video once my modifications are finished. As always, thank you for watching. Please push the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.